This is Trenches to Foxholes. Thank you for joining us as we follow the footsteps of history.
Welcome to the show, everyone. Today with me is Mr. Troy Hollar, survivor of World War II B-17 crash in Foulon, Belgium. Mr. Hollar was a tech sergeant and turret gunner of the 384th Bomb Group that at the time was flying missions out of RAF Graft and Underwood over Germany to bomb a variety of factories. So how are you today, sir? How are you today?
I'm pretty good.
April 13th, 1944, you're getting ready to take off for a bomb and run over Schweinfurt.
Yeah.
How's the process for preparation for your mission go?
Well, it's not a whole lot. You just you get out and have your breakfast, get your machine gun and your parachute, and Jeep or a truck takes you out to the plane. You get your things all situated, and by that time everybody's about ready, and you're ready to go.
Is there a lot of anticipation building up to it, or
No.
how many missions had you already done at this point?
This was our ninth. I've completed 8.
Go ahead and tell me a little bit about the approach into Schweinfurt and the flight over Schweinfurt over the target.
Well, it was calm until we turned in to make the bomb run, and you could see the flak over the city, a solid wall of flak, just like a heavy cloud. And you wonder how can you fly airplanes through all that without and still come out the other side. But when we got in it wasn't quite that bad. It wasn't near that bad. And when we got out the other side, I looked back and saw the wing coming out behind us, and it just like coming out of heavy clouds. It just pop out of it into the clear.
So at this point you're on your way home.
Yeah.
You're heading back to England. So now, what happens within those next few minutes or on your way back when you get over Belgium? And
it's calm. You're not getting any flak. You're not getting any fighters, and you just hurrying back home. That's all it amounts to.
And then over Chievres Air Base, which is currently a U.S. base, that's where we're at today. Suddenly, your aircraft is fired upon again.
When the navigator called over the intercom that it was 10 minutes to the channel, and just very shortly after that, they began firing at us with 4 guns, and they had us zeroed in perfect. But we always flew what's known as number 4 position, which is in the center of the formation. They had a bomb burst, one off the front of the wingtip, one off the back of the wingtip each time. And I stood there and watched them burst, the red flares of the artillery watching it burst. One of them got the wingtip, knocked the wingtip off, cocked it way up, and it leveled back off. While it was flamed further in the wing then. The wingtip wasn't all that serious itself, but then it got further into the wing, and it was about time to get out. So I sat down on the bottom of the turret. It was about 8 inches off the floor, put my parachute on, took a look to see what was going on. Could only see anything except where you're working. And I was on the flight deck. 2 pilots is the only thing I could see. And the co-pilot was standing down in this well thing that you crawl around through and get into the nose. There's also an escape hatch down there. Okay. And he was down there getting ready to leave, and the pilot was still at the controls with the wing on fire. I just put my hands out, one hand out to keep my head from hitting the bomb bay doors, and the other held over the ripcord so it wouldn't catch anything. I just stepped off the catwalk.
And you're 20,000 feet up in the air?
20,000.
20,000 feet, so it's kind of a long way down.
Well, yeah, but after the rush of air, as you first leave the plane, then everything is absolute dead calm. There's no sensation of movement or falling or nothing. You could go to sleep if you had enough time.
So now, pull your ripcord. You're on your way down, and what's your thoughts at that point? What are you looking for or trying to figure out?
on the way down to the where I was going to get on the ground.
Yes, sir.
Well, first I thought they were shooting at me. Then when I unbuckled my helmet, well, I found out it was just my ears. And then I started looking around and see, well, like the direction I could go. Everything was pretty clear because it's a big pasture and farmland. There's nothing to go for. But one direction there was some thin woods, wasn't much underbrush, but just the only thing, you had to go somewhere. And then I noticed I was going to fall on top of that tree, but then and it felt like I was going to just barely get across the top of it. But then there was no surface wind, and I just fell straight down into the top of the tree. The fabric of the parachute draped over the top. And I climbed down to the last limb, and that was a little too far for me to jump, so I just put my arms and legs around the trunk and far as I could reach and slid to the ground.
Now, once on the ground, you were looking for somewhere to go, and you ended up running into some folks.
Well, I'd done decided which way the only way I could go, and when I got on the ground, well, I just started walking across the pasture over there to them trees. And I just got into the trees, under a fence, and got into the trees, and I heard people calling, and I looked back at these two civilians frantically calling and waving for me to hurry back. So I rushed back there, and I hurried and joined them, and they started walking real fast towards the house, and then the soldiers come up to where the parachute was, fired at us, and when the sparks jumped off of a fence, top of a fence post, head high, we got a little more speed out of our running, and run around the house, and there's a big haystack there with a hole in the bottom at the ground, and I jumped under that, and they stuffed it full of straw right within just seconds. Then probably a minute or less, the soldiers come up from where the parachute was, and I could hear them talking. My head wasn't about 6 inches under the straw, and I could hear them all talking out there. And a motorcycle come up the road, and there was more soldiers on that, and they joined the talk. And then after a while, it got quiet, and I found out the next day that they wanted to know which way I went, and the civilians told them went on down the road. So they went down the road looking for me.
And that was in Foulon at the Guillain farm.
What?
I believe that was in Foulon. No, the city Foulon is where you were held at. But how long were you in this area before you went to Brussels?
Oh, about a month or more, I guess, maybe a little more.
And then they got you up to Brussels, where you stayed with the family, and one of your other crew members was with you at that house, correct?
Well, I didn't stay with the same family very long. It was a couple of weeks or 3 weeks, and because they moved us around and didn't want word to get out there was a stranger in the neighborhood, and you could you want to see out while you stood in the middle of the room and looked out. You didn't get over to the window where you could push yourself on display. And so we moved fairly often from one point to another. They would take us from one house to another.
Okay, and that was so you were there for quite a few months, because you got out of Brussels after the liberation of Brussels.
Yeah.
So you were there for some time.
Yeah.
And do you have a lot of memories of the resistance and moving around, or do those faces still stand out to you?
Not in about the resistance itself, because I wasn't associated with them that much. But the people I lived with was real nice and kind to me. They do most anything for my comfort and well-being. So
now you're returning. It's 70 years ago today. This month, Sunday, 70 years ago, during that crash, and you're returning. So, what's it like coming back and knowing that you're gonna meet these people?
Well, it was pleasant thoughts. even though thought I wouldn't see many people that I really knew. Maybe see their relatives, and they were to come back and I'll be among them and talk to them and see them, and it was a pleasant thing to think about. And I've been satisfied with it since the little time I've been here.
Well, we're glad you're back. That's for sure. Because this is your first time coming back to the crash site, right?
First time to be around the people that I knew then. Before it was just a tour of England or a tour of Europe where you go with a tour group. And
right. So it's living in Belgium. I've been here for 3 years, and it's very interesting how in high esteem they hold our U.S. and Allied veterans in World War II. It's very the Belgians hold our veterans, our Allied U.S. and Allied veterans in very high esteem.
Yeah.
So and how do you feel about that, and what do you think makes them continue the traditions?
Well, I guess it was the feeling that they were liberated from a captive army, and then they were more closely associated with what went on and the casualties and the bombing that they received besides the bombing they were giving out. And it was just a better feeling to see the people that were doing it.
Now, after the war and you returned back, did you stay? Did you stay in the Air Force or the Army Air Corps for a while, or were you still in for the military for a few years?
When
after the war, did you stay in the military?
No, I got out a couple of weeks after the Japanese surrender. I enlisted 2 or 3 weeks before Pearl Harbor, and got my discharge 2 or 3 weeks after the surrender.
Good timing. Very good timing. Well, I mean, I want to thank you for, number one, for your service, and I want to thank you for being here today. I also want to thank you for giving me a few minutes to talk to you and sit down and hear your story. I know tomorrow is going to be an exciting day. I plan to be on out there as well, and there's 21 other family members from the crew that are going to be there tomorrow, and the family who actually found you when you crashed. Those folks that called you over, their son is still alive today. So there's a lot of folks you're going to meet, and I really hope you enjoy your short time and stay here. And I'm happy you're able to see the memorial, because it's a very nice.
I'm looking forward to seeing some of the relatives and offsprings of those people.
Okay. Well, appreciate it once again. All right, everyone. I'd like to thank you for listening, and thank Mr. Hollar for being here with us today. And we'll see you next time.
Okay.
Trenches to Foxholes is an official production of the U.S. Army Garrison Benelux in association with American Forces Network Benelux. Thank you for listening.